G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Algared and Revek. Revek's a friend of Algared's from way back when and a savvy ship collector like the rest of us. So today's episode is going to be about the Banu Merchantman and some new information we've learned about it on Calling All Devs that's flowed through, and now we can have a look at what the ship used to be and what it's going to be now. So Algared, take us away.
Yeah, so on Calling All Devs, Disco asked John Crew a question about the Banu Merchantman, where it is, what it's going, any more information on it. And John Crew basically said, like all our large ships, it's not very fast. It's not, and you've got to take that into context with fast against fighters or ships of a smaller nature. And I got messaged by friends saying, CIG lies, and almost wanting to grab their pitchforks and torches and go rioting because the ship had been not as was promised. And I sat there for a while and I thought, well, what does it retain? Has it lost anything else? And if it has lost this, why has it lost it? And so the first question I had is, well, what has it retained? And, well, what has it retained?
Well, I think I can answer that one for you. It's still the ship it was before. I think the only thing that's changed is this idea of a blockade runner and whether or not it fits that role. All the other roles that it was advertised back in 2014 for was it's a trading ship, still a trading ship. It's meant to be a generational ship, so a ship that a family lives on for generations. It still has that capacity. It's still a bazaar, traveling bazaar, so not just one shop, but an idea of a bazaar in there. It's still got the capability to allow multiple people to come and visit the ship at the same time as a trading vessel. And to top it all off, it's still got a rather extensive and powerful set of guns and defensive weapons. If you should annoy it, they'll pop out and tell you exactly how unpleased they are. So it really comes back to that question of what is a blockade runner and how did we get, where does this blockade runner go and what comes from that? And I think Execute had some info on that.
Yeah, so this is an image from the original concept sale, and this is the only one I could find that actually states the blockade runner component. And up in the top left-hand corner there, under Banu Merchantman, it reads, the Merchantman has been described as being adaptable into a fast armor smuggling ship capable of running blockades and escaping authorities. And yeah, that's the only place I could find where it actually ever mentions blockade runner.
Yeah, and we did get in the original sale, it was also described as a clipper, which kind of lent itself to that idea of super speedy, fast ship as well. And I've just gone blank.
That's all right. What you were about to mention was that we have a clip that we will put up on the little information up here that you guys can watch that actually shows Disco talking about how the ship has now grown into a much larger ship that is now roughly Polaris size. So
that's
that
right.
kind of shows
it has taken the F42 growth hormone and is larger in size. And I think part of that growth in size was so that it could actually keep all of those other components which Rev was just talking about. And the downside of that growth is that it lost that clipper speed. So check out that video link that'll be above. And because Disco said it's kind of Polaris size, or he thinks of it as Polaris size, we thought we'd have a look and see how it compares to ships of comparable size. So we went to the ship matrix and we pulled up the ships that are bigger than a Polaris, and sure enough, the Banu Merchantman's there, along with the Hull D, the Hull C, the Hull D, and the capital class ships. And when you compare the sizes, it's certainly there. When you compare the components, though, the Banu Merchantman does lack that capital class component, which all the others at least have one. And so it's currently not in that capital class area because of that. But the question is, will it get those as it goes down the track? And that's, again, we don't know at the moment. But when you compare the weapons, it's also interesting. It was built on the matrix. It has 3 to be confirmed weapons listed, plus a size 6 weapon, and 5 manned turrets.
3 size 6 weapons, isn't it, or is it 1?
No, 3. 3 to be confirmed weapons and one size 6 weapon. And I think, Revek, you pointed out earlier, you think that you can actually see the size 6 weapon on the diagram there, plus the 2 ones that pop out, and plus 1 in the dorsal fin, which would be the main weapons.
It certainly, you can see in those early drawings it's there. I mean, and thanks for bringing that up. Execute. That's that was the 2 forward TBA weapons firing, not the Class 6, and it gave it that definite feel of a blockade runner, huge guns firing forward as it zooms in, so you could see where that feeling was coming from. But you're right, it has not got any capital class components, which is funny because in that clip, Lando says we consider the Banu to be the merchantman to be the Banu capital class ship. So it's there is a bit of a dichotomy there.
And that raises the question, where does it need capital class components? And I think the key point there is that, or the key thing to bring out there, is it's not a human ship. It has alien engines and it has alien tech, and so they may be better at efficiency. We know the Banu, by the law, take the best of whoever's got it and use it. So it could have Xeon engines, which are really efficient. It could have
like
Xeon
the Defender.
Really.
Defender's got them as well.
And so like the shields, so they could be very efficient at those things.
I even think with those alien engines, it may even be a nod of the hat to say, yeah, it's got bigger and slower, but it's still a little bit faster than some of the other capital ships because it's an alien vessel. Like, that is a law thing that you could go, well, the Banu always have the best of the best. Why wouldn't they have the best engines? Why wouldn't this ship still have a fair bit of speed? And I still think another interesting part about the ship that we kind of haven't mentioned is I think this ship is still like on paper, it's very wide and very long, but it doesn't kind of fill the space like some other ships. So I still think that it's technically a bit smaller than it seems, and that may also give it a bit more speed. Like, I'm not saying it may be Polaris speed. It may be faster, it may be slower. I'm just saying it may make it different than what we expect.
And I was just thinking, like, in terms of the weapons that it's got, and in terms of its size, even if it is faster than the normal capital ships that we've got, or the larger ships, if a ship that size is trying to run for a blockade, and you've got a few fighters, or maybe even a hammerhead trying to stop it, its big weapons are going to punch holes through them, and it may be able to run through that blockade of those smaller ships, and even outrun the larger ships trying to stop it. So it may still have that blockade runner ability, even though it's not as fast as people thought it would be.
The other thing they gave a nod to was docking, Revek. Do you want to tell us your thoughts on that, Revek?
It was interesting because they indicated in the discussions they're doing some interesting things with the Banu Defender, and we're wondering whether or not whether they might have different ways of attaching to the ship rather than trying to put it in a hangar, because there wasn't clearly a visible or in the descriptions a place where you could fit one or two defenders on there. So is it going to dock? Are they going to attach as weapons? How do these ships, when they get together as a clan, meet and greet and get together? Is there going to be a very big, assemble a mega ship type option? I have no idea, but there is.
On Voltron.
5 mini-byte lines.
It does raise an interesting point, though, what you're talking about there with the ability to connect with other ships, because it actually now looks like, if you take the analogy of what happened with the Cutlass and the Buccaneer, they designed the Cutlass to be one thing, they had 2 different descriptions, and so they went, stuff it, let's make another ship, and they made the Buccaneer. Does that mean that they're going to go back now and actually make a Banu blockade runner? And does that also mean, knowing the way their ships are interconnected, would the Defender somehow connect with it? If they make any other Banu ships, like say they make a combat ship, is it going to be able to dock with those? Are they going to have this symbiosis that all the Banu ships seem to be alluding to? I think that'd be really cool if they had a custom docking system for the defender that carries on to other ships. And I'm wondering how detailed is it? Is it as detailed as in it connects to the ship and the engines of the defender turn on and give the ship extra thrusts? Do the weapons still work? So you get the guns, and is the system all interconnected so they fire, I don't know, but that could be really interesting and alien.
Well, and, I think Algared touched on it before, it is an alien ship. And so the other thing I think we need to be careful of is we are comparing it to human ships. And when we do those comparisons, the human ships by comparison are very distinct in their design. This is a gun runner. This is a transport ship. This is a military ship. Whereas the Banu is a combination of all of those. So, it will be interesting to see what they do. And I think the other one that is going there is if you go back and have a look at that wording of that comment was it's adaptable to becoming a smuggling ship. So the thing is, was it always meant to be a smuggling ship, or did you have to go through steps after you take the Banu out of its Banu environment and have to do a whole bunch of work to turn it into this fast clipper / blockade runner, and those are, we don't have that information at the moment.
Kind of like an Idris P or an Idris M, or a variant of sorts. There, that could be another thing. We might see a variant, but that's a wait and see again. Interesting. The one other thing I wanted to mention real quick is the guns. These massive guns off the side of the ship that make it look like a blockade runner. Now we know the ship's grown. Is there any need for this really slow ship? Like, I'm just picturing it. It's taking a week to turn around to put this really giant gun on you and shoot you. But by the time you get there, you're going to have left. So I kind of think, wouldn't this now be better to kind of remove these big guns and maybe just put like a salvo of guns firing sideways or something of that nature, so you can pick up ships as they fly past you, or a series of turrets instead of these massive guns? Or is that a part of it? Is it meant to be that to take on other capital ships? It's an interesting concept that I find a little strange.
Well, certainly when we look at the Matrix, it does have it is listed as the three big weapons, the two on the side there, and there's one from that original diagram we put up in the dorsal fin. You can also see that it's got two small man turrets on the side of that dorsal fin. There's one on the nose. There's probably two underneath somewhere. It looked like there was a larger railgunny type weapon along the top of the nose. So yeah, it does seem like it's got some serious kick-ass ability there, in terms of fighting other ships or even punching a hole through something. It may not be speedy, but don't get in its way.
Now, you two mentioned before components about the ship. Do you think they're going to need to increase in size? To give an example, the hull C and D both have capital class components, and they're both longer than the Polaris. So, sorry, D and E, not C and D, D and E. Does that mean that this ship will need to get capital class components to be on par with the Polaris?
My gut feel is, I think Algared hit on the head before, if we're going to take the Banu of taking the best of the best, maybe too large for them equals one capital size, because their parts are so good. And it goes to that whole question of the size of the ship and the speed. We're comparing it to fighters, it's probably slow. We're comparing it to a Polaris. I don't know whether they said it was, massively slow compared to the other capital ships. And so that will be interesting to see how that goes. So does it turn faster than a capital ship, therefore those two whopping big guns become very important? Or, as you say, is, do you need to book time and ask them to be please sitting over there waiting for my shots to come in, which makes it pretty irrelevant as a weapon. So there's a lot of that there that goes with the fact that we're also dealing with stats that haven't been updated for a year now.
Yep. In terms of components, I was also thinking it seems to be low on power. So compared to the others have Polaris has a capital class power plant. The Idris has capital class power plants. This has two large power plants, and so for all the weapons it's got, it seems like it'll struggle to do weapons and shields and engines and all that and whatever else it needs a power plant for. And if you don't want to make it a capital class ship by putting capital class components in, it doesn't necessarily need them. Maybe 3 large or the 2 large if they work just as good as, because they're alien tech. So I suppose the big question was, is the Banu merchantman still in a good place? Are we being ripped off? Has it, are we losing? Is it time to melt the Banu and get out while the going's good? And
look, I'm going to be honest here. I think it's changed, and I'll put it this way: it's lost its speed, and it's had to do that to gain everything else that it wanted to do. But I think there might be some other changes on the card still, just because it has changed so drastically. It's going to have to change. It's a given, but it's so much more than what we were initially given. And if you brought that ship at $250, you're going to be laughing, because you're walking away with a ship that's probably, like, let's just say it's not as good as Polaris, maybe a Hammerhead. That's a $650 ship. You've tripled your money almost. So
I akin it to the Idris. When I bought my merchantman, I bought it because I wanted the family generational trading ship. So am I disappointed? No, I got everything I always wanted. But it's gotten bigger and it's done a few more things. When the Idris came along, I thought I was getting a Corvette, and I got a frigate. Am I upset about that? I didn't have a Corvette. It's not quite as the Corvette ship. I'm very happy I got a frigate.
Definitely, and I think that's the takeaway. It's lost its speed. It hasn't lost anything else, and it's just grown.
Fly safe.
Be well. Take care.